Hello, and welcome to Plugged into History. My name is Nicole Thompson, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Stableyards here at Middleton. As many of you might know, March is Women's History Month, and there are many amazing women who contributed to the survival and the legacy of Middleton Place. Over the next few minutes, we want to share with you the stories of a few African American women who were instrumental in caring for the Middleton family and preserving Middleton Place. Women who, as Middleton changed and evolved from home to a public space, evolved with it. From domestic servants to pioneers of interpretation, join us for a story of work, home, and family at Middleton Place. Our story begins with Annette Mays. Annette was born into slavery around 1846. She first appears on the slave list of Middleton Place in 1853, along with her mother, father, and sister. We don't know if Annette was here at Middleton when the Union troops came down the Ashley River in February of 1865, but we do know that sometime after 1870, when the Middletons moved back to Middleton Place, Annette became their cook. Even after Annette married, she and her family continued to live at Middleton Place, and Annette continued to serve the Middleton family. Annette's great-granddaughter noted in an interview that Annette insisted on good manners, and though she was uneducated, was full of pride. As Middleton Place transferred from generation to generation, Annette remained a constant. Annette passed away at the home of her son in May of 1940. For almost a century, Annette raised and cared for not only her own family, but for generations of the Middleton family as well. In 1925, Middleton descendant J.J. Pringle Smith and his family moved to Middleton Place full-time. They brought with them a young black woman named Mary Washington, who they wished to work with and learn from Annette Mays. In an interview with Mary years later, she talked about how territorial Annette was about her kitchen, how Annette considered her an intruder, and made it clear that she did not want Mary using her pots and pans. Despite this, Mary became a very accomplished cook, and she and Mrs. Smith often collaborated to improve or create recipes. Some of these are featured in local cookbooks such as the Grassroots Cookbook and the now famous Charleston Receipts. Over the years, politicians and celebrities are entertained at dinner parties and afternoon teas here at Middleton. Most notably, the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, came for tea in March of 1941. When asked about Mrs. Roosevelt's visit, Mary spoke of serving her cinnamon toast, Benny wafers, and plain sugar cookies along with her tea. She noted that Mrs. Roosevelt asked her how she made the Benny wafers, and she tried to tell her, but, quote, "You just can't tell a person exactly how you make something." While working here at Middleton Place, Mary met and married fellow employee Thomas Shepard. While things changed and evolved during the almost 70 years that Mary worked here, she evolved and changed right along with them. Her memories of Middleton Place helped guide the foundation in its plan to revitalize the house and stableyards for future guests. Mary died peacefully in her sleep in her home here at Middleton in 1994. Those who knew her remembered her as always thinking of others, always kind, always sharing, and always overflowing with love and praise. Former president and CEO of Middleton Place Foundation, Charles Dewey, said at her funeral that Mary was Middleton Place's guiding light and star. Mary's longtime neighbor and friend, Anna Perry, was also instrumental in helping to shape the Middleton Place we see today. Anna was born in 1897. When she was 19, she married Richard Perry, and the two of them came to Middleton to work for the Smiths. Richard worked in the Stableyards, and Anna worked in the house as a maid. In fact, it was Anna who should have been serving tea to Mrs. Roosevelt when she visited that Sunday in March of 1941. But you see, it was Anna's day off, and she would not have missed an opportunity to attend church, even for the First Lady of the United States. As the property changed from private residence to national landmark, Anna's role changed too. She moved from being a maid in the house to eventually becoming one of the first interpreters in the Stableyards. Staff who knew Anna in the 60-plus years that she worked here described her as quiet and humble, and like her neighbor Mary Shepherd, an amazing cook. It is said that she, Mary, and some of the other employees would often hold cooking contests, each encouraging the staff to come and eat lunch and judge whose cooking was the best. Today, Anna's home is part of the administrative offices of Middleton Place Foundation. Martha Dewey was the younger sister of Anna Perry and spent much of her youth here at Middleton. As a young girl, she would often play with the Smiths' only daughter, Josephine. After she was married, Martha lived in Charleston and Somerville, but continued to work at Middleton. In the 1920s and 1930s, during the spring season, she worked in the Junior League Tea Room, which was held in the Middleton Place Mill House. In later years, she assisted in the upkeep of the House Museum. But what she is most remembered for is her interpretive abilities in the Stableyards. You see, Martha was a storyteller and was remarkable at reading her audience and knowing exactly what kind of story they longed to hear. She loved engaging with guests and would eagerly demonstrate corn grinding and spin tales for them. Those who knew her best spoke of her sense of humor, her faith in her God, and her optimism. Martha passed away in 1994. Lastly, I would like to introduce you to Eliza Leach. Eliza was an African-American South Carolina native born in 1891. She was the last occupant of the Freedman's house built here at Middleton Place in 1870. It is unclear of when Eliza moved into this house or how many years she actually lived in it, but we do know that she was living here in the later stages of her life. And even though the home had been fitted with modern conveniences, Eliza continued to rake the yard daily, carry water from the spring house, and chop her own firewood. Sidney Frazier, our vice president of horticulture, knew her when he was a young man. He described her as fiercely independent. He and his co-workers would often offer to help her, but she always declined. Eliza worked for Middleton for over 40 years and had many different jobs during that time, everything from sweeping and raking in the gardens to collecting tickets and handing out brochures to visitors. Like the other 4 women we have introduced you to today, Eliza also took pride in her cooking abilities and was often part of the lunch competition. It has been mentioned that Ms. Eliza made the best Hoppin' John. After Eliza moved out, the building served the foundation as an office space and a break room until finally the decision was made to strip it down to its original 1870s construction and use the space to house our current Beyond the Fields exhibit. These women that we've introduced you to today were a constant presence in the lives of generations of the Middleton family and continue to be a constant presence here today as the foundation stewards Middleton Place towards the future. Their pioneering efforts to interpret this property, especially the narratives of the enslaved people, are reflected here still. We follow their examples of evolution by continuing our research and utilizing new information brought forth from descendants to improve and grow our interpretation of those who lived, worked, and died here. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you back out here at Middleton Place. very soon.